Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to this episode of the Make More Placements podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about why your year starts strong, then quietly collapses by February, right? So this is the first episode for 2026. We're going to be starting strong, talking about, one of the things that we see quite often is that recruitment search business owners, and you've probably done the same, right? You set your goals over the holidays, you've got your plan on what you're going to do. And I think every year you start strong, right? You go into January with this big momentum, positive attitude, things are getting ticked off, things are getting done. And what slowly happens as the year goes, and this is normally done by February, by the way, is that momentum sort of dies and then you slip back into old habits. So we're going to be talking about why that happens and more importantly, how to avoid it, how to make sure that you have that consistency throughout the year so you avoid that yo-yo up and down in income and you actually hit your goals rather than it repeating another year. Again, as always, if you're watching this live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, wherever, make sure you give us a like, drop us a comment, let us know where you're listening in from. Again, that helps us get the message out, helps us know that you're enjoying it, or if you're not enjoying it, let us know as well. And as always, this episode is sponsored by Placement Box. You can find out more about Placement Box at placementbox.io. It's the all-in-one business development platform built for recruiters to get more clients. Terry, I just want to dive right into the content. Why does, I talked about sort of recruiters jumping into the year with all this momentum, all this positive attitude. Why do you think, from your point of view, from what you've seen, that sort of dies off by, February, March time?
Because that's what we do. And look, this morning, I was in the gym. My local gym was absolutely packed. And I was talking to the manager there and he smiled. I said, it's busy today. He said, yeah, but it always is this time of year.
Yeah.
He said, but the thing is, here's the thing, Terry, it'd be like this until around about the 2nd to 3rd week of February. And then those people that signed up New Year, New Me, they won't be here. Well, most of them won't be here. I said, well, what percentage? He said, probably 80% of them won't be here. Because I sign up with the best of intentions, but most of them won't see it through. And sadly, that applies to recruitment business. We're all quite, reflective between Christmas and New Year, aren't we? Thinking about, right, so New Year, things are going to be different this year. New Year, new me. And we sit down, some people sit down and say, right, this is what's going to be like next year. But stuff gets in the way. The clients, you get back to work, you've got emails to answer, you've got stuff on LinkedIn, you've got clients wanting answers and candidates wanting answers. And before you know it, you're back into the old routine. But here's what we know. If you do what you've always done, you're going to get the same results. So within 4 or 5 weeks, you're back into the old routine. I can almost guarantee you're going to get pretty much the same results as you got the previous year if you're doing what you did that year. And sadly, that's what happens to the majority of recruiters. Interestingly, about 80%, but the top 20% just do things differently because they stop relying on motivation, because motivation in and of itself isn't enough. It's almost like relying on that first cup of coffee in the morning to fire you up, but it probably only lasts until about 10 o'clock and then you're back to your old self. But you can't keep pumping yourself with caffeine to keep going. You can't keep relying on motivation for 12 months. Does that make sense, Drew?
No, it does. It makes perfect sense. I think, if you're a recruitment business owner listening to this and you've set sort of bigger, better goals for, 2026, I think one of the mistakes we see so often is that people have bigger, better goals, but they don't, upgrade the structure and the systems that support those. So, again, they rely on motivation, like Terry was saying, but I think your goals need to match your results will fall to the level of your systems and the structure and your environment, right? So if you've got bigger goals, your environment needs to be bigger, better. Your systems need to be bigger, better. Your processes need to be bigger, better in the business. And I think if you get that, then again, you can continue that, the results throughout the year rather than it just being motivation based. Motivation is great and motivation only gets you so far, but it's, to build a sustainable business, we can't rely on motivation, right? Even, Terry, I think you work out most days a week, but, and probably a lot of people listening to this do as well. But I think you can, some days you're motivated to go to the gym, right? And you get up and you're motivated to go to the gym. But probably what supports you the rest of the time is the habits that you have in place. The things like preparing your gym bag, things like even paying the membership to an extent is that sort of commitment that you have to go, right? And I think if you don't have those things in place when it relates to your business goals, then you're not going to sort of see out the year in the way that you want. Terry, anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, 100%. So stay with the gym analogy, which I think is quite useful actually, because I think most people can relate to that. Full disclosure, I probably go to the gym 5 days a week. Probably 2 of those days, maybe 1 day a week, I really don't fancy going. But I still go, because what's driving me now isn't the motivation, it's just a habit. I think, well, I've got my kit ready. I have, like as you rightly said, I've got my kit ready. I've got my water ready. All I got to do is literally jump into the car. I get changed at home, put my kit on. I just jump in the car and go to the gym.
Yeah.
So here's what most recruiters said. Example, I'm going to double my sales over the next 12 months. That's their goal. New year, new me, and I'm going to double my sales. But if you've done what you've done on all the previous years, nothing's going to change. If you're only having, let's say, 4 meetings a month with new potential clients who could give you business, and you do exactly the same next year, it's unlikely that you're going to double your sales if you keep doing that. If you're going to recruit at the same level and get the same sort of fees, it's unlikely. Because what you're saying is, if you stick to that, is that you're gonna do twice as much, and that's unlikely over a 12-month period. But what if you were to say, actually, our average fee at the moment is, I don't know, 20,000. I'll move further up the food chain, and my average fee now will be 40,000.
Yeah.
What if you say at the moment we get 4 meetings a month, but what we're going to do now, we're going to get 10 meetings a month, and rather than just cold call, we're going to put together marketing campaigns. That means that we can generate more leads. For most recruitment and search business owners, that would be transformational. What's happened now is you've changed the habits in the process that you've got in place. You're not doing what you've always done. Does that make sense, Drew?
Yeah, it does. It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. So reason one is that motivation, people prioritize motivation over structure. Reason number two, why you won't hit your goals this year, or you sit back into old habits, is that a lot of recruiters prioritize delivery over growth, right? They prioritize delivering on the current work that you've got, the current assignments you've got over growth. And what I mean by that is, normally what happens is January, like I said, you come in with all these goals, all these plans, and then you get an email from a client who says, I need this, whatever. You get pulled into your old patterns based on the delivery side of things, right? Terry, why do you think that happens to a lot of recruitment and search business owners, first of all?
Because it's what I call short-term thinking. And I speak to, I'm trying to think of a number. I probably speak to 50 to 60 recruitment business owners a week, every single week. So I'm hearing the same thing. Terry, you don't understand. I've got these job orders that I've got to work on. I've got to deliver on them. Without delivering on these job orders, we've got no revenue coming in. So what happens is they work on those job orders. So let's say the month of January, they're working on those job orders. As a consequence, once those orders are filled, come February, they've got nothing because they've done no business development, because they were focusing on the delivery. And that's why a lot of recruiters go through what we call the famine and feast. So 1 month, they're drinking champagne, eating caviar and steak and smoking cigars. And the next month it's bread and water, because they've got they're focused on the delivery. But what the top performers do when you talk to them, they say, Terry, we are stacked under with business that we've got to deliver on, but we've still got our business business development going on in the background. Regardless, they could have $1 million in their bank account. They're still going to be working on their business development month after month after month. So they don't focus on that one thing. Does that make sense, Drew?
No, it doesn't make perfect sense. And I think on top of that, as the owner of the business, you also need to give give yourself space and time for strategic thinking about, I think the problem with delivery, right, it sucks you back into habits, right? We sort of touched on it on reason number one, right? You get back into doing the same system, same thing. But Terry, you touched on, moving up the food chain or increasing your fee. Before you can make that decision, it takes time to think about how you're going to strategically do that, right? And I think sometimes if you're just being reactive all the time, like you wake up on a Monday morning, Tuesday morning, whatever, you open the emails and you've got emails from clients and you've got, they're pulling you in what you need to do that day. I think you're always going to be stuck in that pattern, where I think what I would strongly advise owners to do is to set an hour, maybe 2 hours of the day, first 2 hours of the day, exclusively for thinking and doing things that are going to grow your business. So moving up the food chain, increasing your fee. Maybe it's changing your terms so you work at only exclusive or retained. Maybe it's, exploring a different market. Whatever it is, dedicate that to your business growth rather than serving your clients. Serving your clients are important. They're obviously what keeps the lights on, but growth comes from you making that decision, you having that time space to think and decide what you want to do next. Terry, does that make sense?
Yeah, a great example. They call it, working on the business rather than constantly working in the business. When you're working in the business, you get caught up in all the weeds. When you take that helicopter view and you step back and you go, so what is it we can do that when we do that would double our revenue? What if we were to increase our fees? What if we were to, as you said, work on a retained basis or exclusive basis? Because the average recruiter, if they're working contingent and their fill rate is 30%, so they get 10 job orders a month, but they're only going to fill 3 of them. If they were just to double their fill rate to 60%, they would double their revenue over that period. So the question is, what is it that we need to do that when we do that, we would double our fill rate? Well, if you worked on more retained or exclusive roles, pretty much guaranteed you would double your fill rate. Yeah. And ultimately, what also happens is, well, often then you'd work less but earn more because you'd work on less jobs. Let's say if you work retained, you're always going to get paid something for the jobs that you work on. So you work on less jobs, but you earn substantially more. So rather than working on 10 jobs to fill 3 of them, you're now going to work on 4 to fill 3. But that's kind of thinking where you think, what can I do to do that? So that's what we talk about, working on the business rather than working in the business.
Yeah. Awesome. 100%. Again, if you're watching this live on LinkedIn or Facebook, give us a like or comment. Let us know this is making sense. Moving on to number 3, Terry. Number 3 is the owner becomes the system. The owner becomes system as in, and what I mean by that is that as the business owner, the business is too reliant on you, right? So everything goes through you. Every decision goes through every process goes through you. And if you're either pulled in delivery, like we said earlier, but pulled into life, right? So it could be that you go on holiday, could be that you get ill, could be that you want to spend, could be any reason that you're not going to be fully sort of knee deep in the business, like the business sort of stops and falls away. And the reason for that is not building systems to support the, I guess, the processes that you want to do, right? So anytime you implement something new into your business, it needs to be that obviously it's going to be you primarily that implements it, but then at some point we need to systemize it and automate it so it happens whether it's a team member doing it or it's automation doing it. It happens whether we are in the office or not. Terry, anything to add to that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I can't remember. I think a chap called Christian Mather asked this question, and he gives advice to recruitment research business owners, and he says something like this: if you walk away from your business for 2 months, would your business come to an absolute standstill? If the answer is yes, you don't have a business, you have a job.
Yeah.
Because the business is so reliant on you as a business owner. But if you could walk away for 2 months or 3 months and the business would do absolutely fine, now you've got a business. And, and to make the comparison, if you think of the big supermarkets, I won't have to give you names, but you all know the big supermarkets. If you want a newspaper and a pint of milk, you go to those big supermarkets. The CEO isn't behind the counter serving you. They've got shop assistants or they've got those automated tills. But you could go to your corner shop and you know that if you go to your corner shop and buy a pint of milk and a newspaper, the person serves you is the owner of that shop. And he or she had to get up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning to open that shop to serve you. They can't walk away for a month, 2 months because, the business comes to a standstill. But if you've got a process and a system in place, it doesn't matter whether you're not there for a couple of months. Because the process and the systems in your business ensure that what needs to be done is done.
Yeah.
Rather than, I've got to do everything. I've got to roll up my sleeves. The old adage of the recruitment business owner that underneath their suit, they're wearing a Superman jacket and anything he's doing, they rip off their jacket. There's that Superman t-shirt because they do everything. Leave it to me. That's not a business. And by the way, it's not sustainable either. That's going to drive you up the wall. What would it mean to you if you could take 2 months away from work and it would have no impact on your personal income? And ultimately, that's what you want to be striving for when you can do just that, walk away for a couple of months and it has no impact on your personal income whatsoever. So anything else to add to that, Drew?
Right, perfect. Awesome. Number 4 is goals without change. So what a lot of recruiters do, and we sort of touched on this earlier, is that you set the goal, but very little sort of changes about how you operate daily in the business. Again, Terry, why do you think that happens? And I guess what can people do to avoid that mistake?
Yeah, but you're right. We did touch on it, so go back to, kind of repeating ourselves, but we talked about in a recruiter session, I'm going to double my sales over the next 12 months, but I'm going to do exactly the same.
Yeah.
You're unlikely to double your sales if you can do exactly the same. If you're going to be working in the same lousy job orders where 70% of the job orders you don't fill, if you're working on fees where you've got I don't know, your average fee is 20,000, it's unlikely that you're going to do that. But it is taking that strategic overview and going, actually, if we were to work retained, if we were to exclusive, if we were to work at a higher fee, if we were to, rather than cold calling and begging for business, how would it be if we were to put in a marketing campaign so we never ever had to cold call again, and our consultants just had to call warm leads? And by the way, everything that we're sharing with you right now, some of your competitors are doing right now. Some of your competitors never ever cold call, never ever have to rely on their network, which eventually dries up. They've got a marketing campaign in place, so they've always got warm leads or warm inquiries to follow up on. But that's doing things differently, because the majority of recruiters don't do that, and they then think, if I work twice as hard, I'll get twice as much business. You probably won't, but you'll be twice as busy and twice as frustrated as in comparison to where you are now, if you try and do that. Anything you'd add to that, Drew?
Yeah, I think just a point to say is that ambition doesn't automatically change behavior. So you get, I think it's really easy to, especially this time of year, right? It's really easy to be ambitious, really easy to have these goals, targets. You as the owner, but also your team as well. But and again, the message for this whole episode really is find out those ambitions. That's the easy part. What are you changing in your daily routine, monthly routine to actually support that ambition, to change that and hit those goals? Does that make sense?
Perfect sense. That's a great example. Yeah. Excellent.
Perfect. And again, if this is making sense to you and you want to speak to us about how we can help you grow your recruitment coach business, if you go to www.makemoreplacements.com/call, there's a short video there about what we do, how we can help. Watch that video. If it makes sense, book a 15-minute call to speak with us. I've got nothing to add for today. Terry, anything you want to add to wrap up?
No, that's it. That's been really useful. So thank you very much for that, Drew. So as Drew said, go if you want the personal help, if you go to makemoreplacements.com/call. Is that right, Drew? I've got that website right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a short video there. And if you want to jump on the call, one of our team for a 10-15-minute call, we can look personally at your business and share some gems with you to help you achieve what it is you're looking to achieve. And there's no cost or obligation for that, by the way.
Awesome. Thanks, Terry.
So thank you very much for joining us for today. Until next time, folks, take care, take action, be relentless.